And people are like, oh, we want to see you make coffee. Then he starts doing all these like cinematic B-rolls with the beans and stuff, and now he has his own coffee. Yeah. You know? But it all started with just like, hey, I have coffee.
It makes sense. Like we got to patent something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Something that fits your brand. Yeah.
With bags, you might be able to get a company that already makes bags to sponsor you.
Okay.
So they can make the Are You Mad bag instead of you having to put the cost for it.
Podcast content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Let's keep.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, sure. All right.
Yeah. Before we like.
Here, I'll dial this in.
I need the mic dialed in, but I have been recording, so we did get that.
I'm hiding mine.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, yeah.
You are so
Don't have a
good.
table on that side.
You're so good.
Just make sure this is good to go. Oh, nice.
Oh, just shooting the Nikons.
Already,
Oh,
I will
yeah.
give you a countdown so that you can give your intro.
All right, just.
Oh, right about.
Oh yeah, let me just check.
Okay, perfect.
Probably
Thank
just
you.
need a little bit longer because you're gonna face her.
Testing.
There we go.
Is my collar weird?
Just like pull it and bring it
Sweet. I might even just scoot that.
80. Cool. There you go. And then let's actually let's extend this.
Hi, BB, because you're not advertising BB. They paid me yet.
Oh, could you do me a favor? While we're here, at some point, it's super simple.
Yeah.
While we're here, at some point.
Take pictures of you?
Yes.
Liz, can I get a mic check for you?
Oh yeah. Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, perfect, thank you.
And this camera's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, and all it is boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay, so should I take it with this and then you can just give it to Liz?
Yeah. And I'll share it with you.
Okay.
Oh, and will you share them with me later?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Give it a practice shot.
It's
You'll have to hold it for a second so it like focuses in.
yeah, but it's actually too close.
Oh, you can. Here we go.
Oh, is it on here?
Right.
Oh, okay, so it's all like, okay, I'll do it. Okay, yeah, I know how to handle it. I love.
Yeah. Bam.
Okay, one. One, two, three. Here, look at me.
Do a countdown.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right.
Are you guys ready?
This is a cool podcast room. Let's
I
do it.
know. Isn't it so cool?
Isn't it great?
They'll make
yeah,
you look
super,
good too.
Super legit.
Make
I
you
gotta
look
make sure I
good.
don't look at myself.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, we can turn that TV screen off. We can
They do a good job making you look good. Yeah. I was like, do I look that good in real life? No, I don't. Like they do something up there. I don't know.
I know, right?
Like,
Something about it.
Ready for a countdown?
Yep, and
Let's do it.
we are ready to go, you guys, in 5, 4, 3, 2.
hello, this is Elizabeth Ashton, and welcome to the very first podcast of my Are You Mad series. I have a very special guest, Mr. Mervant Vera. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Mervant Vera. Some of you guys probably know me from America's Got Talent. I'm a magician and a freestyle rapper. So I make music and I do magic. I put them together to create interesting presentations.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I had a question for you. So what from your childhood shaped the charismatic performer you are today? Because you are very charismatic.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think growing up, there you go. I think growing up, I was really into acting. So my parents always kind of had the acting thing going on. I used to go. I grew up in Philly, so we used to go to New York. I went on auditions and things like that. After a while, that kind of fell off, and I think I was just like a charismatic person just throughout life. I would thinking back to my youngest years. I used to draw pictures and be like, "Hey, Mom, look at the picture,"
wow.
and she'd put it on the fridge or something like that. I think that's where it starts, but it's something that I've had to develop too, because I used to be actually a super nervous person.
Well, a lot of actors and performers, I feel like they have told me that they're very introverted, but then acting kind of brought them out of their shell. Would you say?
That's funny. So for me, I used to play basketball in middle school and high school, and when I got to college, I found theater, and I just felt really comfortable there. It felt like it was always the joke I always make is like Zac Efron, High School Musical. I went from being more of a sports guy to finding this theater world where everyone seemed so special and unique, and something about it led me towards that. And I think that's where I really started getting like more comfortable.
It was just like your path, right? And so it just kind
Yeah,
of slowly developed.
it seems
and
like it.
settled
It seems
into
like it.
who you are meant to be today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We met at a real like a private party,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this was meant to be because you kind of did the act on me for some
Yeah.
reason, and so I was able to see the act firsthand,
Yeah.
personally. So that was really amazing to
Thank you,
witness.
thank you.
And yeah, so what inspires your
Oh man,
magic acts?
that's interesting. So when I first started in magic, and I think a lot of people are like this. When you first start in something, you kind of emulate someone else. I think the first person I saw who did magic that was like, oh my gosh, I got to try this, was David Blaine.
Oh.
Which is interesting because David Blaine's performing here in town now too, right? It's crazy to be thinking
Mhm.
about like, you know, performing along the strip with David Blaine. But watching David Blaine do card tricks, and I remember he would do street magic, so he'd be in the middle of New York City doing card tricks, and it was something about that I could relate to because it's just, it wasn't magic like on stage, it was just like out in the street, just random. Yeah.
So do you feel like you do better more like in the moment, not as like planned out, or are you more like spontaneous by nature?
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah.
So in the show here at AGT Superstars, it's like a mixture of like freestyle rap and magic. And rapping is something that like there's like obviously written raps, and then there's like freestyles which are a little more rough. And with magic, it's kind of the same thing. There's like written magic, and then there's like freestyled magic. You just kind of.
What do you feel is more your element? When do you feel more in your element?
I think somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I don't like being too scripted, and I don't like
Yeah.
being too loose that there's no path.
Okay, good,
You know?
because I was trying to figure out how to what direction to take this podcast, and it kind of seems like this is a little both.
Well, it's almost like magic to me is more like stand-up comedy than people think. When you see a magician sometimes, and I think it depends on the performer, but some people are very scripted. And you can tell they're like saying a script and they're kind of going off the hinge. I like to have a general direction I'm headed in with my key points. And the rest is random because I work with the audience too, so it's not like I can't script a
oh, I know,
random
like you did it
person
very
or-
spontaneously at that party where I met you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like I just kind of, when I'm doing close-up magic, I kind of freestyle a little bit, but I do have like a path I hope to reach, you know?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so you were the semifinalist on America's Got Talent. Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you.
Oh man, that was interesting. So I had a very unique journey on that show. I think that a lot of people don't realize when you go on these competition shows, everyone's experience is just completely different. Like, you know, some people come in with a big reputation. They've been performing professionally for years, traveling the world, and then they go on America's Got Talent. And some of us were working like different jobs, and then we go, hey, we're gonna give this a try, and we go on AGT. I was somewhere in between. I left my day job working in tech maybe about a year and a half before I auditioned for AGT. And I produced a show in Philadelphia. It was like a weekly thing, and I had an online show I was doing. And I was like, man, if I'm good enough to be a professional performer, then I should be able to go on America's Got Talent. Just like a logic thing. And I gave it a go on the very last day that you could audition. So last day you could audition, I just saw like an ad online. I was like, you know what, let me give it a go.
You literally lived my actual dream. One time I had a dream I went on America's Got Talent, but you actually
Really?
lived it. Yeah.
I literally, I didn't even rehearse.
Wow.
I didn't even rehearse.
That's why I
literally-
feel like you actually are really good in the moment, being spontaneous. I feel like you're really good at that, and you're very charismatic. That's the first thing I noticed about you when I met you. I'm like, wow, he's very charismatic.
Yeah, I tell people that I didn't rehearse for my first audition, and they're like, what? Like it was something I already like kind of had put together to some degree, and then I just went for it.
That's
because
amazing.
I think over rehearsing also almost gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I completely understand, because I feel like they say a little bit, as a behavioral therapist, they say a little bit of anxiety is good to help us perform better.
Yeah.
But too much, it can kind of maybe, hinder us a little.
Yeah, it's like being over rehearsed, you're too stiff. And then it's like, well, what if I'm not in this construct I created? And then it's like, it's gotta, somewhere in between, loosen up. That's why I always look at, I don't really study magicians. I actually look at stand-up comics more than magicians.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I can learn, I'm at the point where if I want to learn a new piece of magic or create a piece of magic, I can conceptualize it, or I can learn one that's already created and updated to today. But I feel that sometimes, for me personally, I think that in some cases the magic doesn't make sense without context. So I have to create a context that is me
Oh,
around
absolutely.
it. So that way I'm not some hack of a magician.
So which, absolutely,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Comedian do you think you emulate the most then?
Oh, so this is interesting. I used to watch Cat Williams a lot because I thought that he's so high energy, but still had like quote unquote control over the crowd. But he's super high energy. He comes out, it's like crazy. And then I was watching Chappelle for a while because he's really good at being high energy, and then he closes it in, and everyone's listening to what he's saying all of a sudden. So I think right now I watch the comedians that I work with on stage. We have 2 comedians who frequent. We have 3 actually, but right now the host is Mikey Winfield, and Mikey is just really good at crowd control. Like he's just really good at no matter what kind of crowd we have that night. He's still doing his thing, and he manages it really well. So I just
Keeps everybody in check.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't only look at the guys who are like super famous, because then it's like, everyone can see them.
Well, I went to a comedy show a few weeks ago for Dustin Yerborough. He performs at the Rio. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to have him on the show.
Sweet.
I'm really good friends with his stepbrother. His name is Victor Diaz. He's a news reporter in Spectrum News. He's the one who helped train me how to do well on camera, Victor Diaz. But anyway, so I went to the comedy show a few weeks ago, and yeah, so that's what got me thinking about that. And we were the ones that they came over and told us to be quiet. So apparently, yeah, that guy would have been good for calming us all down, Yeah,
no, seriously.
Crowd control, right?
Yeah, a little crowd control.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
exactly.
And it's kind of weird too, because with magic is such a unique art. And I think that like the general person has an idea of like what magic is, but I think we're at an age too where it can kind of be what you want it to be. That's why when I went to America's Got Talent too, I made sure I didn't do like a big illusion or something that looked like anything someone else has done, because I just wanted to be unique. It's like rap and magic. Let's make it.
As an artist, I feel like that's the best way to. I actually really commend and look at a true artist as someone who makes it their own. You know what I mean? Like you just, of course we're influenced by different artists, but like we got to do our own bend on it, right? Like, be unique and authentic. Yeah.
It's like the soup. You get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and
But then we still got to do our own little.
And you still got to do your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had one last question for you.
Sure.
So, did you go through any emotionally challenging struggles that fueled the creativity that you're now implementing into your performances?
Oh,
It's a little bit.
that's an interesting question, and I'll give you the blatantly honest answer to that question. I would say a loud, ringing yes. I think that sometimes we see the end result of performance, and we think it's all just like, especially a happy performance, like something inspirational, like magic or comedy or something that's made to make people laugh. But in a lot of ways, it's a culmination of a lot of things. It's been like I've been doing magic for like 15 years, and then like you get a little bit of a break, and it seems like, oh, this everything must be like perfect for this guy. But a lot of times it's just hours and hours and hours spent, even to just have the comfort that I currently have on stage. That has been years that it's probably taken to do that. So let me see, challenges. I guess the first thing that really pops to mind is the social challenge of being a minority in magic.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like to hear, because as a behavioral
yeah.
therapist, I like to hear, and then because you seem very optimistic, despite, because I'm sure you have had challenges, but you cover it up well because you come across very optimistic
absolutely.
and positive. Yeah.
It's crazy because when I first got into magic, obviously there weren't many black magicians. There wasn't like a famous black magician to go to emulate, to look at. And also, I was a lot of I would always meet people go, I never met a black magician. Nowadays, there's more of them because we have TikTok and Instagram, and like kids might see a card trick and want to, emulate it. But for the most part, I very much grew up in the world where I didn't really know many black magicians. Ironically, I did meet a couple of people in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And it seemed like even though in the country there was still a small amount of African-American magicians or black magicians, a lot of us were in the Philadelphia area, so it's kind of cool. And I I still though, as I'm out in the world today, I still meet people who are like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a black magician. I definitely never
And
saw.
you know what? To me, I'm an Aquarius, so I love trailblazers.
Yeah.
Trailblazers, I like commend them. So that's fantastic. Yeah, fantastic.
Someone asked me. I did a news interview a little while back, and they asked me like what were my thoughts about being like a black magician, like performing, being a minority in an art where there's not a lot of like famous faces of color. And I thought to myself, it never was a source of, at first it was a challenge because I had to seem to explain myself a lot. Like being like from a place like Philly, like there's a lot of people who haven't seen magic before. So then you got this guy who's kind of like, I'm like a jock mixed with like a magician. I'm an interesting character, you know? So it's like, after a while I learned that when you have something different, you just own it. And your ownership of it makes people own it also.
Absolutely.
And it's not even a thing. So like that's kind of what I discovered after a lot of time. And it also gives me a way to inspire or educate people too if they have any questions.
See, I kind of want that to be the point of my podcast, you know, what the psychology behind performance and then how they're inspiring others. And see, you're going to be, you know, an inspiration to, you know, these younger kids that really want to make something of themselves with your same background. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and it's kind of crazy too because when I think back to that whole thing, the whole black magician thing, it makes me. There's so many other versions of that too. Like, as I look in history, like the first black person to do something, or maybe the first like Asian American to do something, or it could be any race. But at the end of the day, it's all just pushing the art forward and just like spreading it out through cultures too, which is really great. So I just kind of look at myself as like a catalyst for that. But I'm also not attached to it in such a way where it's like I feel I have to have a certain brink of greatness because of it. I'm still living my life.
Very down to earth about it. And I feel like all cultures, religions, everybody comes together as one. That's my belief. But so I'm hoping like we can all, you know, do that together. Yeah. And I used to live on the East Coast too, New Jersey. So
Jersey.
Yeah, I lived in middle school and high school. So I got my taste of the East Coast and the food there's so much better, like bagels and pizza.
Jersey and New York and Philly have like the best bread. That's what makes the cheesesteak so good because the bread it's not gonna like be soggy and stuff.
They say it's the water, right?
It's the water.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's the water. The water.
Yeah,
It's
sarcomas.
awesome.
You got the.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You're actually my first guest on my
the first guest.
Are You Mad?
Which camera are we looking at? We're this
series.
one.
Yeah.
We're first guest. What's up?
So very special. Yeah, very special guest, and you're going to do amazing things. I can already tell.
Thank you so much.
And you already are.
Thank
so
you.
that's
Thank
amazing. So nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.